It is my pleasure to call to order the 303rd Board of Governors meeting today, Saturday, June 8th. I'm going to make the Zoom announcements, which this will be the only meeting I will be making Zoom announcements, which pleases me to no end. Please be patient. There will be a lot of moving parts throughout this meeting. The meeting is being recorded. Just a friendly reminder to be aware of what you are putting in the Zoom chat. As the police officers say, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. If you are attending virtually, please make sure your name is displayed correctly in order to be counted present and recognized for discussion. The chat is enabled. It will not be monitored. Question and answer is enabled, and it will be monitored. If you have a question and you do not wish to speak, you may use the question and answer feature that will be monitored by Damon, who will alert me. To be seen or heard for questions, use the raise your hand feature and you will be recognized to speak as a panelist. So that means that you will get to appear on the big screen if you are on Zoom and you want to speak into the meeting. That is how you do that. Only board members are allowed to vote. We are using the Point Solutions as the voting platform, and we will use the Point Solutions app on your mobile device or your computer. If you are on Zoom, you will use the mobile device or your computer. If you are in the room, I highly recommend that you use one of these little things, the clicker, so that you can vote using the live connection we have here. If you do not have one of those, please find a member of bar staff and they will bring it to you. You can go ahead and raise your hand and they'll look for you now. As I said, only board members are allowed to vote. Please make sure you use the same device from start to finish. Do not sign in on multiple devices. And again, if you're in person, I recommend using the clicker. If you are in person and you need help, as I said, raise your hand or find a member of the bar staff. If you are virtual and you need help, you can email Kendall Harville, who is Kendall, KINDALLH, at georgiabar.com. Org.org. Thank you. The peanut gallery is useful sometimes. I would now call upon my friend, Jeffrey Martin Nail, to deliver the pledge. As Jeff comes up, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Jeff. Jeff and I have been lifelong friends. I met Jeff in the 3rd grade when he moved to Georgia. Jeff and I were at the University of Georgia when Jeff realized that his highest duty was to serve our country. Jeff enlisted in the United States Army, went on to become a ranger and a ranger instructor at Camp Merrill in Dahlonega, where he was stationed for 8 years, among other foreign deployments. Jeff went on to finish his education and holds a master's in public administration. He also served as an instructor at the Sergeant Major Academy in El Paso, Texas. And in 2020, Jeff was medically retired from the Army at the rank of Sergeant Major. Jeff went to law school in Missouri for a year before he came back home to be closer to his son and made the decision to do what many of us wish we could do, is to become a bass fishing guide on Lake Lanier. So if you check out Jeff Nail on Instagram, he hauls some big fish out of Lake Lanier and has a good time doing it. So Jeff, we're glad to have you today. Thank you for your service. And if you let us in the pledge, that'd be great. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
To deliver the invocation, I call on my father and Board of Governors member for the Middle Circuit, Jerry Cadle. While Jerry walks up here, he's already here. You're going to have to stand here for this fun fact. So you would think, with my father being on the Board of Governors, and he likes to remind me that he's been licensed to practice law for 3 more years than I have been alive to the date. He somehow joined the bar literally on my birthday 3 years before I was born. So you would think that We've done a lot of bar service and have always been in the bar, and that would not be true. Jerry came to his first bar meeting, I think it was in 2012, and he was fairly unassociated with the bar for a very long time because he went to the University of Georgia. He moved back to Swainsboro, and his friend who worked at the local paper was there to take his picture. And so he took the picture and posted it in the paper with the headline, local boy comes home to practice law. And 3 weeks later, Jerry promptly received an admonishment from the State Bar of Georgia for advertising. So needless to say, it took me getting involved in the bar for him to think that that wasn't such a bad thing. So with that, I'd ask that you deliver the invocation.
Good morning. Yeah. And look what we've come to this day in time with advertising. So, Ivy, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to give today's invocation. Your mother and I have been praying for you for the last 46 years. It appears to have worked most of the time, especially when you took a job at the Armadillo Club as a bouncer in downtown Athens. So meet Bouncer Ivy back here. Okay, let us pray. Our Father, today we recognize those who came before us beginning in 1963 when the Georgia legislature enacted the legislation which became the foundation of today's State Bar of Georgia. Our Father's dedication to the advancement of the legal profession is evident today as we celebrate 61 years of our history. We give thanks for the opportunity we have been afforded to practice law in this great state, to foster the principles of duty and service to the public, to improve the administration of justice, and advance the science of law. May we never take for granted those who have supported us and made this realization possible. As members of the State Bar of Georgia today, we ask for the wisdom, guidance, and vision to advance the legal profession in the state of Georgia. We realize there are challenges we must overcome daily as we represent our clients while not forgetting why we were called to this great profession. Lord, may today's leadership continue the progress we have seen in advancing the objectives of the State Bar of Georgia. Amen.
Thank you. I will now recognize our special guests, and we recognized them yesterday, and we have a busy agenda, so I am going to move through these quickly. If you would hold any applause until the end, I'd appreciate it. Today we have with us Chief Justice Michael Boggs, Presiding Justice Nels Peterson, Justice Sarah Warren, Justice Charlie Bethel, Justice John Ellington, Justice Carla McMillan, Justice Sean LaGrua, Justice Ferda Colvin, and Justice Andrew Pinson. We also have Chief Judge Amanda Mercier, Vice Chief Trent Brown, Judge Ben Land, Presiding Judge Chris McFadden, Judge Ken Hodges, Judge Jeff Watkins, Judge Tom Markle, and Judge Elizabeth Gobeil are here with us today. We have past presidents here. We have the Honorable Bobby Chasteen. We have Robin Clark, Elizabeth Fight, Dawn Jones, Linda Klein, my law partner, Pat O'Connor, Sally Akins, and John Salmon. I understand Attorney General Chris Carr is with us virtually, and from the governor's office, we have counsel Kristen Long. If you will join me in thanking these special guests for being here, I'd appreciate it. I call attention to your, I think we have a PowerPoint for the Board of Governors members. We also have new officers here as we had the transition at the stroke of midnight last night. We have Miss Veronica Cox, who is the YLD President-elect. We have Mr. Kenneth Mitchell, who is the YLD President. Congratulations. We have Miss Brittany Browning, who is the past president and is hiding behind me. Well played. For the State Bar of Georgia, we have Miss Javon Hicks, who is Madam Secretary. We have Mr. Bill Gentry, who's serving as treasurer, Mr. Chris Twyman, President-elect, and the man with the best job in the House, immediate past president, Mr. Tony Del Campo. Tony, I offer your thanks again. Thank you. The new board members we have will be on our PowerPoint. We have Miguel Dominguez, who is of the Atlanta Circuit Post 2. We have Lindsay Stevens, who is the Atlanta Circuit Post 20. We have Kevin Patrick, Atlanta Circuit Post 22. We have Edward Eddie McAfee, Atlanta Circuit Post 26. We have Jillian Freer, Atlanta Post 38. Zach Pritchard, Cherokee Circuit Post 1. Honorable Charity Bridgewater, Clayton Circuit Post 2. Miss Dahlia Racine, the Douglas Circuit. Maria Justice, the Eastern Circuit Post 3. Andy Welch, Flint Circuit Post 2. Mr. Ryan English, who took accounting for lawyers in the first class I ever taught at the Houston Circuit. Mr. Thomas Lindsay of the Lookout Mountain Circuit, Post 3. Stephen Morris of the Stephen Morris is of the Ocmulgee Circuit, Post 3. Tua Barley of the Rockdale Circuit. Joseph Mulholland of the South Georgia Circuit, Post 1, and Tidra Canella of the Stone Mountain Circuit, Post 8. I had the opportunity to have breakfast with most of them, and I can tell you that they are all excited to be here, and we are looking forward to their service. So if you give our new board members a round of applause. I now call on Madam Secretary Javon Hicks for the taking of the roll. Yeah, that's wise.
Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to stand here. Y'all just don't know. But my job here today is to make sure all of you board members are here and accounted for. I will be passing out the roll. I need you to make sure that you sign it. I also want you to go to page 18 and review the attendance to make sure your attendance is accurately accounted for. And if there is a meeting coming up that you know that you cannot attend, please email me so that you can get that nice E for excuse in the book instead of being determined to just not be here, because we know how much you care about the job that you're doing. If you have any questions, let me know. Please make sure I get these back. Do not pack them up with your papers, because if it walks out the door, then you are not accounted for. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Secretary Hicks. I will underscore the importance of an excused absence as we transition into the future meeting schedule. All the future meetings will be in person. We understand that life happens and it's unreasonable to think everybody can make everything. So you do not have to have a death in the family or be emergently ill in the emergency department to get an excused absence. If you have something that gets in the way, please email Javon and reach out, and I'm sure she will help you and be very reasonable. I am very excited about the future meeting schedule. Leslie, my wife, who I have cajoled into sitting down front so she can take pictures, she and I have traveled around and have looked for fun places. We wanted to mix up the meetings this year and do it a little bit differently. I'll also admit that we're conducting a bit of experiment. I love Chris Twyman, and if my back in person meetings don't work, then he can be a hero and fix whatever I have screwed up. So we also found, though, that from an economic perspective, the pressure on hotels, if you came to this meeting 17 years ago when I came to my first bar meeting, the quality of service and kind of this hotel's doubled in size, et cetera. Well, leisure travel and travel pressures have really made it challenging to get the rates that we are accustomed to at the quality properties that make people want to travel and go to. And so part of this return to in-person meeting experiment is literally economics. It's a numbers game. And the more people we have at our meetings, the less it costs you to come. And also, I am just a huge fan of seeing everyone. I have really have and am doing my best to be present and to be out amongst you, because I think that is what these meetings are about. And we can do a lot of business virtually, but the personal connections that these meetings create and have been an absolute blessing in my life are an important part of the bar work that we do and are highly germane to the practice of law. So with that, our first meeting is going to be at the Jekyll Island Club, which is a wonderful historic property. It will be November 1st through the 3rd. The mid-year is moving from the northern city of Atlanta, where the temperatures are commonly in the 30s for the meeting. We've had to cancel it for snow and ice, etc. So this year we will be in the hostess city of the South, Savannah, Georgia, at the one. You are allowed to clap for your city. We will be at the hostess city of the South. The JW Marriott is a phenomenal property. It is a really unique hotel. It's what I call on the right side of the river, AKA you don't have to ride the shuttle to go anywhere. It's at the end of River Street, and it has a rooftop bar. Literally checks every box you could ever look for. So we're going to try again another experiment in an effort to make Chris Twyman a hero. Is that we will be not in Atlanta for the annual meeting, but I'm excited about that. I think it has a lot of benefits and will be fun at a nice place. In spring, we are negotiating our contract for the Hyatt Place at the Classic Center in Athens, because go Dogs. And so we will be in Athens for that. Thank you, Lawton, for your applause. And then I love the Omni here. I came to my first bar meeting here. You'll hear about that a lot today. And I think it is a great place. But if you go to the same place all the time, people tend to just not want to go because they went there last year. So next year, we're going to mix it up. We're going to the home of the Players Championship at Ponte Vedra Beach, which is the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. We will have a lot of golfish themes throughout my year, because that's what I like to do for fun, to get outside and try and get some exercise. I will warn you in advance, the stadium course, in the most unfortunate turn of events, closes the week before we arrive. They still have the Pete Dye course if you want to play golf, and we'll work on some golf-themed outings and whatnot and try and have some stuff organized if you are interested. On page 23 of your board book, you can also see our plans for the executive committee meetings as we make our way across the state. We will be in Gwinnett, we'll be in Buckhead, we'll be in Swainsboro, and we'll be in Macon. That takes me to my president's report. My one goal that I've already talked about is to build connection. My other goal, quite frankly, is to not get in the way. Our bar is working in the right direction. I'm grateful to Damon, Paula, Ron, Bill, all of our staff and team who do a lot of hard work, which really shows when you show up at a first-class event like this. So there are a lot of people who, if you're bar staff, let's do this. If you're bar staff and you are working this event, could you please stand up so we can recognize you? In addition to who you saw here in the front, there are a lot of people out in the hall. So please, when you go by, thank them. They're standing there dealing with people who didn't pay, you know, whatever special flower lawyer problem you've got today, they're dealing with you. So thank them. The next thing is that there's going to be some change at our bar. As you heard, we've selected someone to fill the role of general counsel, but we will not replace Paula Frederick. Paula, you have always been kind and welcoming and really great as I have made my bar journey. You have done that same thing for hundreds of other people. We are so very grateful for you. I'm going to embarrass you, and I'm going to ask you to stand up, because this is your last annual meeting as general counsel. So if you could stand up and be recognized. We're gonna call this, what's left, what's left of, or the half of the year, Paula's victory lap. Excuse me. The other thing, the one thing I'm really gonna look at this year, we're gonna have an election, and it's a great canary in the coal mine of an example of some things that we just need to look at in our bylaws and fix. There's some plain English that we could use, and we could restructure things based on what we're doing. I do think what we're going to do follows the rule, but the rule could be more plainly read. We also have thousands of people doing the work of the bar, and we're going to talk about bar policy, or board policy 1000, that talks about what you are doing has to be germane to the practice of law. And we recently had a case out of the Fifth Circuit, so you could argue it doesn't apply to us, but there's some good language in there, and it talks about how words matter and how you can't just post a picture on the website of eat your broccoli, it's good for you. What the bar does as a mandatory bar has to be related to the practice of law. So what I'm looking at and what I'm asking for your help with is that if we have, and this is kind of me putting my accountant hat on, right? So if we have weaknesses in controls, or we have things that the board could do so that if something goes, if somebody from, I'll pick on the, Leslie's here, so the fiduciary section. If Leslie goes over to the legislature and tells everybody, I'm from the fiduciary section of the state bar, and this is what you need to do, that's not appropriate. We have a legislative committee. We have things in place that are supposed to go through. But if you go look in the bylaws, I don't personally think we really have anything to address a situation like that. So looking for issues, issue spotting, and then coming up with some rules changes to address those is really what my bar year is going to be focused on. And as Dawn can attest with COVID, Sally can attest, it's not what you do to your bar year, it's what your bar year does to you. So I am also going to be prepared for that inevitable result. All right, with that concludes my president's report. I really do ask that you email suggestions on things you think could be improved. That would be of utmost benefit to me and ultimately to our State Bar of Georgia. We got our first poll, so if you'll bring that up, please, ma'am. What is your favorite candy bar? What's the session ID? You want a clicker? There was a whole part of the talk where we talked about using the clicker, Mark. What? And it's in your instructions. How many votes we got? All right, 113 votes. The poll is closed. Yeah, we're gonna move. All right, it works. We'll now seek the approval of the members of the State Disciplinary Board and members of the Formal Advisory Opinion Board. For the State Disciplinary Board, we have 2 vacancies from the Southern District, and Pamela Everett and Carl Varnado. Pamela is from Pooler and Carl is from Savannah, are proposed as appointees. And then for the Formal Advisory Opinion Board, we have members at large, Mary Pribula, Jeffrey Schneider, Letitia McDonald. Then from the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, we have Amanda Clark Palmer. From the District Attorneys Association of Georgia, we have Sherry Boston. From Emory University School of Law, we have Jennifer Romig. From the Georgia State University College of Law, we have Cassidy Brewer. And for the State Disciplinary Board, we have Sutton Connolly of Somerville. Do I have a motion to approve these members? Do I have a second? Any discussion? And there is none. Will you post the poll? Will you let me know when we get 100? All right, post the result, please. That is overwhelmingly approved, and somebody is testing out to make sure it works. Thank you for your no's. We will now move to the approval of the ICJE Board, and C. Bradford Marsh is proposed. Do I have a motion for approval? Have a second? And we'll post the poll. Let me know when we get 100 votes. All right, post the result, please. And that is overwhelmingly approved with the same 4 people testing the poll. All right, we will now approve our standing committees, special committees, program committees, and boards. Do I have a motion to approve those? Those are printed. I think you can get them down here from bar staff should you want one. Have a motion? Second? All right, let's post the poll. Do you approve the 2024 State Bar Committees as presented, standing, special, and program committees and boards? All right, let's post the results. Oh, and we have joiners in the nose. Very nice. If you disapprove, let's not get too excited with that, though. All right, we now have nominations to the Judicial Qualifications Committee, James Coursey, Pat O'Connor, and Dan Snipes. Do we have a motion for their approval? Do we have a second? Any discussion? Nope. All right, very good. Poll question will be posted. Do you approve the nominations to the Judicial Qualifications Committee as presented? All right, let's post the result. Very nice. Someone at least heeded the request not to get too ambitious with our nose. We now have kind of the first meaty part of our meeting. We have rule changes, and the first is the implementation of Standing Board Policy 1000. I believe it is on page 40 of your board book. It is a 1-page policy. It has to do with making sure that what we do is germane to the practice of law and following the most recent case that came out of the Fifth Circuit, Boudreaux. And that was previously presented to you at the 2024 mid-year meeting of the board. I believe there was a typo that needed changing that I'm sure David Lipscomb brought to our attention. And so if you have any, so do I have a motion for approval? Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will post the poll question. And that poll question is going to be, do you approve proposed Standing Board Policy 1000 as presented? All right, and if you'll post the results, please, ma'am. And that passes. Now on to the proposed revisions to the rules for continuing legal education. The red line for Part 8, Rules 8-101 through Rules 8-112 are included for your consideration. You can find this in pages 41 to 131 of your board book. These changes were drafted internally by staff, and they have been approved by the Commission on Continuing Lawyer Competency. If you recall, Thomas Herman of Macon presented these for their first reading at the spring meeting of the Board of Governors. And the changes since that include a revision to the definition of the trial practice CLE, and that's on pages 54 and 55. I believe there were some other minor changes that we can address if anyone has questions. All right, hearing no questions, do I have a motion? Do I have a second? All right, we will bring this for a vote. And the question here is, do you approve the proposed changes to Part 8, Continuing Legal Education as presented? Yeah. Why? Okay. So that passes. All right. We next have the center, and so this is not on your agenda. It was emailed to you, I believe, on Monday of this week. And so we are going to take old business out of turn and talk about the Center for Lawyer Wellbeing. If you recall, this was previously approved by the board, but and she is to be commended for this, when Madam Secretary Hicks conceived of this idea, she wanted to make it a section because it easily fit within our rules and bylaws. As it evolved, we figured out, which only a bunch of lawyers, it would take a while, take this long to figure out, but wellness was good for everybody. And so we moved it from a section to a center. So it's more akin to the YLD that, is offered to everybody. And in doing that, after we had already kind of approved it, we looked back at the bylaws, and instead of having the leadership come from a section style election, the bylaws have been amended, and this is why they're back for your approval, is that they have been amended so that the leadership has more interaction with the executive committee and the president of the state bar. And Javon is going to hopefully be moving towards president. So it's exciting to kind of see her as an officer as this develops. And so what the bylaws, you got them via email. They're not in your board book. Do I have a motion to approve the bylaws? Then we'll move. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Okay. I think we're working on the poll. All right. Sorry. While we're doing this, we're going to celebrate Javon. So Javon has been working tirelessly as the state bar's mental health and wellness advocate. It feels like since I had anything to do with the bar. Javon is passionate about this cause. She started organizing and working with others to organize wellness events and to incorporate wellness into our meetings and activities. When Judge Hodges was president, I believe they started wellness retreats. And then Javon started looking at how do we make this a section, or what do we do? She has been incredibly patient and incredibly persistent at integrating wellness into our bar and into the activities that we do. And I think that is a great thing. I will tell you that, like, I kept talking about how great Use Your Six is. And I finally said, you know what, you might need to use your own six. And so I picked up the phone and I called the number and signed up and got a counselor. I did that back in COVID. And I was just, I was home working all day and I didn't see anybody and needed somebody to talk to. But I now still am working with the same counselor. We meet monthly, so I'm actually having to pay her. I value her services that much. And so it really, I tell people that counseling is amazing because you can tell somebody anything. You're not dumping on your spouse or significant other. And as long as you don't threaten to hurt yourself or somebody else, they can't ever tell anybody what you told them. That is a valuable service. So Javon, I want to personally thank you for the impact you had on me and your work on this section. Was my story long enough? Cool. All right. I don't know what this question is going to say, so we're going to post the poll. All right, and it says, do you approve the amendments to the well-being bylaws? All right, let's pull the votes. And that is overwhelmingly approved with our original 8 dissenting. So thank you. Thank you, Javon. I now call on Mr. William Gentry, our new treasurer, to come and deliver us a report.
I can't tell you how pleased I am to be sitting at the adults table instead of the kids table this year.
Ouch.
Well, I promise not to be as entertaining as Daryl Sutton was when he was treasurer a few years ago. And if you have any questions, Ron Turner's here to fully address them. But the current financial statements are shown at pages 133 to 149 of the board book. Current financials are presented as of March 31st of this year. The memo on pages 133 to 136 explains any budget expense variance of $1,000 or greater. The bar should be under budget for the fiscal year that ends on June 30th of this year. The April 2024 financials are also completed, but were done too late to be in the board book because they were sent out through the mail, and we had to send them out a little earlier this year for obvious reasons. If you want to look at pages 145 and 146 of the board book, they reflect contributions to both the legislative fund and the Georgia Legal Services Program. Both sets of contributions exceed previous years. Give yourselves a hand for doing this. That's really great. And the combined audited financial reports for the year June 30th, 2023, ending then, shown in pages 198 through 225 of the board book. We received a clean opinion from the bar's independent auditors, Malden and Jenkins, and no audit adjustments were required by the auditors. You want me to go into the other stuff? You going?
Yeah, if you want to go.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the budget. So the 2024-2025 proposed budget is shown at pages 150 through 181 of the board book. Dues were previously approved and set at $264 per year for active members, and it's always half that for inactive members at $132. This reflects the increase of $4 for active members and $2 for inactive members, primarily due to obtaining the additional cool services through Fastcase. So if you haven't gone in there to see that, I think they're already up and active. Do it. Salary increases have been approved in the range of 3 to 5% for bar staff. The budget reflects a combined budgeted net loss, which is what we've been doing for a number of years on purpose. While we understand budgeting for a net loss, comfortable budgeting to the point for the following reasons. Senior management over the last 10 years has worked hard to see that the actual amounts come in solidly and under budget. The bar has allocated cash amounts available to it and feels that if necessary, a portion of the unallocated cash can be used to cover the loss that we are budgeting intentionally and have been for a number of years. Conduct the vote.
We're just trying to keep Martin happy and make sure the unallocated cash goes down. We will, do I have any motion to approve the budget? Do I have a second? Is there any discussion on the budget? Hearing none, we'll post the poll question, and the poll question is, do you approve the 2024-2025 State Bar Consolidated Budget, including the total operating budget and bar center as presented? And as a reminder, only the board governor's members are voting. Yes. That's fine. Okay. You have gotten really good at this, by the way. Yes. There it is. Well, now please vote on the poll question. Do you approve the 2024-2025 State Bar Consolidated Budget, including the total operating budget and bar center budget as presented? All right, let's show the poll. There we go. Thank you. You've approved the budget. We will continue on. We now have financial resolutions, which I understand Mr. Gentry will return and present.
So these are pretty much the standard resolutions we do every year. The first one, they're shown on page 182, all three of them on page 182 of the board book. They need to be approved by the Board of Governors, include having Malden Jenkins come back and do, and the depository institutions, and I forgot what the third one is, but it's at page 182.
Thank you, Treasurer Gentry. Do I have a motion to approve the financial resolutions? Do I have a second? Is there any discussion of the financial resolutions? Hearing none, seeing none, will you please post the poll question? That poll question is, do you approve all financial resolutions as presented? Okay, we have the votes are in and we will post the poll. Thank you. I will now present to you the election schedule that's on page 184 of your board book for your consideration and approval. Is there a motion to approve the elections schedule? Do I have a second? Okay, let's open the poll, please. We're voting, do you approve the 2024-2025 election schedule as presented? A is to approve and B is to not. Please post it. Okay, that is overwhelmingly approved. We are cooking. You people want to get to the beach. I love it. All right. So let's first talk about procedure because we're to the executive committee elections and want to make sure everybody understands how this is going to work. Misplaced. Nope, there it is. All right, cool. So we're about to elect members of the Board of Governors to serve on the executive committee. We will have two elections. We will first elect someone to complete the unexpired term of, you're really getting a lot of mentions today. Well done. Of Miss Javon Hicks, our secretary. She vacated that to serve as secretary. There are then 3 expired terms that come up every year at the annual meeting. And so then we will hold a second election for those 3 expired terms. Any member of the Board of Governors can run in any election. If you run in the election for the unexpired term, you will serve for 1 year on the executive committee before that seat will be back up for election. The winner of the election is whoever gets the plurality or the most votes. We will then hold the election for the 3 expired terms. The 3 candidates that get the most votes win. If we have a tie, we'll have to have another election. When you vote, in the first election, you vote for 1 candidate. In the second election, you vote for 3. If you do not vote for 3, or somehow you try and vote for 1 person twice, your vote will not be counted. So that is, and the relevant rule on this is Section 1 members. So with that, I'm going to begin. Well, we also have a little surprise this year. I thought that we were going to have a lot more discussion than we did. And so I wanted to keep things on track. And we have folks who like to talk for a hot minute. And so I was thinking about creative ways that we could have a reminder of the 5 minutes that you get to nominate somebody or the 2 minutes that you get to second someone. And what I really wanted was Justice Boggs to bring me the clock from the Supreme Court of Georgia. Troopers told me that was unavailable. So I went what anybody does these days, and I went to Amazon. And I found the clock. So Mr. Gentry is going to be our sergeant at arms, and he has a remote control to operate the clock. There we go. And he will set that, if you'll set that to 5 minutes. I'm sorry, not Mr. Gentry. Jeez. The other Bill, Mr. Neesmith is our sergeant at arms. Yeah, I've just been working with you so much this morning. My apologies, Bill. All right, so he's going to set that to 5 minutes. And it beeps when it's done. So we're going to begin the first election. This election is to fill the 1-year unexpired term of Miss Javon Hicks. Does anyone rise to nominate a candidate for that unexpired term? Ms. Boston.
I admit, President Cagle, that I doth protest to the timer, and I see that Mr. Neesmith has started it at my first word. That was not in the rules. Not in the rules. I am Sherry Boston from the Stone Mountain Circuit, soon to be the DeKalb Circuit, and I rise to nominate my friend and colleague, Joyce Giss Lewis, to join the EC. Joyce, please stand and wave so everyone can see your bright, beautiful face this morning. Over my years of service, I have stood before you to nominate several members of bar leadership. I have had the distinct pleasure of nominating past presidents Darrell Sutton and Judge Ken Hodges. I would like to say that I have a great track record of supporting your best and favorite candidates. I think that you'll agree with me with past President Darrell Sutton. Don't hold it against me or question my judgment with past President Ken Hodges. But in all seriousness, I am proud to stand before you and talk about Joyce. Joyce has many amazing accolades of service and commitment to the law at both the local and state bar associations. And if you read her email, which I heard many of you missed, take a look at it now. As I will not reread today her long list of accomplishments, as her proven track record and commitment to service is unparalleled. And frankly, we all know that we're not here for the details, we're just here for the speeches. So those of you like me that have had the pleasure of serving over a decade on the board, you'll remember that one Judge Lawton Stevens ruled the comedic stand-up stylings of nomination speeches. I remember thinking when I first joined the board, I could never follow that act. And then we ushered in a new decade of funny. Some guy from Puerto Rico. And since I'm no Hamilton thespian like Dax, and clearly no Jordan Peele anger translator, again, Dax, thanks, for making it hard on the rest of us, I have to find my own way. So in the past, I've used my time to tell you about the fairy tale love stories of our wonderful bar members. But today I only have 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 25 seconds, that is. So I wrote a poem for you about Joyce, who herself is a trained thespian. So here goes. In the land of peaches sweet, where laws can twist and twirl, we need a hero sharp and smart, a justed-minded girl. Nominate Joyce Giss Lewis. She'll bring her savvy flair to the State Bar of Georgia with wit beyond compare. With legal books and coffee cups, she tackles every case. She's got the brains, she's got the charm, she's got a lawyer's grace. Her speeches are like poetry, her motion smooth as silk. She'll guide us through the trickiest laws with humor, heart, and milk. When clients start to panic, when things get quite a mess, Joyce steps in with a knowing grin and saves us from distress. She's battled fierce depositions, faced judges stern and grim, yet always with a joke or two, she makes the shadows dim. So if you want a bar that's strong and also full of cheer, nominate Joyce Giss Lewis. She's the one to lead us clear. With laughter, wisdom, and a smile, she'll serve and she'll delight. For Georgia's bar will shine so bright with Joyce, our guiding light. And I will defer my last minute to my second read.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Somebody rise to second. Judge Whitaker.
Well, I believe I get 1 extra minute. Or not. All right, Paige Whitaker from the Atlanta Judicial Circuit, and I rise before you to second the nomination of Joyce Gist Lewis to the Executive Committee. A couple of things to say about Joyce. I cannot hit them all because I only have 1:40 now. Number one, Joyce is smart. It's clear from the fact that she went to Wake Forest. I will forgive the transgression as a Duke alum of her going to a rival North Carolina school. At least it wasn't that other rival North Carolina school. And at least you can tell from their mascot that they're all wannabe devils. Second of all, Joyce is nice. And think about that. She is a litigator, she's a lawyer, and she is nice. I think that that is a quality we can use more of in our practice and in our world. Third, Joyce is diplomatic. If you have ever said something that is not a very good idea to Joyce, she does not berate you. She does not tell you all of the reasons why you are wrong. She lets you come to that conclusion on your own by doing this simple gesture. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. So, diplomatic. We can all use more of that. And finally, Joyce. And I know this for certain firsthand because Joyce, as a novice skier, skied with me at the Update on Georgia Law Ski CLE, which, as an aside, I highly recommend as a way to get your 12 CLE hours and have fun. But Joyce has got mad downhill ski skills. And I am going to leave to you the interpretation of the word mad there. But in conclusion, Joyce is smart, nice, diplomatic, and a little bit mad. Exactly what we need for our EC. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Whitaker. I will tell, if you do rise to nominate, you can see the clock over here in the video screen that's on the floor. So, as always, Judge Whitaker performs well under pressure, 5 stars. So, do I have any more nominations? Yes, ma'am. Judge Heath?
Good morning, everyone. I rise to support the nomination for John R.B. Jack Long to serve on the Executive Committee. He has deep ties in the Augusta legal community and throughout the entire state of Georgia. Now, some of you may not know, but there are actually 2 Jack Longs in Augusta. Jack Long, the father, John B. Jack Long, and Jack Long, the son, John R.B. Jack Long, who I'm here nominating today. Now, not being from Augusta and being a new young prosecutor in the DA's office, I quickly learned that there were 2 Jack Longs. They're both private practitioners, and I learned that within the office, we had a way to distinguish the father from the son. So I'm revealing a little bit of a practice secret here. I think Jack may know, but he may not know this. So within our office, to distinguish between the father and the son, we had Jack Long, the father, we refer to as Big Jack, and Jack Long, the son, as Baby Jack. So I'll refer to him as Baby Jack throughout the rest of my nomination, but no, not really. So, Jack, he's a member of our local bar association. He's the former president of our Young Lawyers of Augusta Association. And he, which I believe you're all familiar with, is a former YLD president for our state bar, which is the service arm of this bar. So this is where I want to plug in the connection between Jack and I. as I left the DA's office and during his time of presidency, I was in private practice, navigating that world. And he called me to ask me to serve as a committee chair. And I'm not sure, I think it was called Diversity and Inclusion at the time. And I said, well, Jack, I need you to give me full reign to do what I need to do in this committee. And he gave me all the support that I needed. If I recall correctly, we changed the name of the committee to match the big bar versions of committee to promote inclusion in the profession so that we could work in tandem with them. And he supported everything that we did. And we actually got an award that year for the CLE programming through that committee at the ABA conference. Jack saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And that experience is a part of my story of how I realized my involvement at the state bar at this level, just not locally, is so important to this profession as a whole and to me individually as a young lawyer. As YLD president, he set record of raising over $130,000 during his year that went to benefit Camp Lakeside in Lincoln County, Georgia, which helps disabled youth to be able to enjoy a summer camp experience with necessary ADA accommodations. And there's a cabin building that was funded by those efforts that's dedicated in the name of the Young Lawyers Division of the State Bar of Georgia. He continues to support the young lawyers by hosting them when the Leadership Academy comes in town. And he also participates as a volunteer through the high school mock trial competitions. He continued his service after serving as president, and in a contested Board of Governors election, he started his service here in 2017 and has been reelected each time. He currently serves, and at several years has served on the formal advisory opinion board for the State Bar Disciplinary Review Panel, and he has chaired the State Bar Disciplinary Review Panel for the past 3 years. He is a lawyer's lawyer. He is a fierce advocate, taking on large complex cases and those smaller cases because an injustice that needs to be righted, and he comes and does that very well in the courtroom. His practice includes a myriad of different things. He's a general practitioner, been practicing for 18 years. And many of you are aware that Jack does not hold his tongue. He's going to tell you his opinion. He's not afraid to speak up. And that's exactly what we need on the executive committee. He has the best interests of the membership and each of his fellow lawyers at heart with his passion. That passion for the bar is only rivaled by his passion for being a father. So if you want to see a softer side of Jack, watch him interacting with his daughter, and you'll see that passion come through. He's a solo general practitioner. He's balancing family, fatherhood, and everything that we all try to do on a day-to-day basis. And despite all those responsibilities, he continues to be active in this bar and serving with a servant's heart. Future performance can only be determined by past performance, and he has shown that he is dedicated and will continue to be dedicated in any role to serve you all on the executive committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Do we have a second? John Manley.
I'll keep this very short. It is my pleasure to second the nomination of baby Jack Long for the executive committee. I practice in Savannah, but I began my career in Augusta and still have colleagues there that I call friends. Jack Long is one of them. In preparation for this morning, I reached out to some of those friends in Augusta to get some dirt on Jack so that I could properly roast him here this morning. But because I'm limited to only 2 minutes, I'll be in the back of the room, and if anyone would like to come back there and share stories, I'm happy to do that later. There's a lot to work with of Jack. But even I felt uncomfortable saying some of those stories in front of this gathering. So I'll leave it at this. Jack has a long record of service to the bar, and he wants nothing more than to continue that service on the executive committees. Thank you very much.
Are there any other nominations for the one-year unexpired term? So a motion to close, we have a second? All right, all in favor, aye. Very good. All right, we will now put up the poll for the election and A for Miss Lewis and B for Mr. Long. You only vote for one. I won't give them a minute on this. How many votes you got? Yep, all right, well, we're going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay, the winner is Joyce Gist Lewis. Congratulations. All right, we will now have our second election. This election will be for 3 two-year terms to serve on the executive committee. These terms were formerly filled by Gary Spencer, Martin Valbeda, and John Pennell. Do I have anyone to rise to nominate someone for the unexpired terms? And I see Mr. Bay back there. Mr. John Bay is recognized by the floor. The chair, president, whatever. Come up here. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is John Bay. I rise to nominate Gary Spencer. I am Board of Governor from the Atlanta Circuit, Post 35. Gary Spencer, I'm honored to nominate him for reelection to his seat on the Executive Committee. He is a friend, he is a mentor, he is a lawyer who strives to make the world a better place. He has been a member of our state bar since 1992. He has proudly served on this Board of Governors since 2015. He has been the vice chair of the Discipline and Rules Committee. He has served on the Wellness Committee. He served on the Seeking Equal Justice Committee. And he has mentored many young lawyers, including myself. When I began my practice, Gary was right down the hallway and served as an example of how to make the world a better place, how to be a lawyer, how to practice with compassion. Gary has been a public defender. He's worked in public interest. He's done personal injury, criminal defense, and he now serves as the senior counsel for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. He has over 350 jury trials. Has been as a past president of Gate City Bar. He was a shining example as a mentor. He's also been a member and is currently a member of GTLA, GABWA, the Atlanta Bar Association, and GACTO. In the courtroom, Gary advocates for the little man. In his life, he advocates for real people. Gary makes the executive committee a better place because of the knowledge, his experience, and his ability to speak up for everyone. Throughout his career, Gary has consistently been on the side of advocating for justice. As a liaison to the Access for Justice Committee, the Indigent Defense Committee, and on the Formal Advisory Opinion Committee, he has worked diligently to ensure the voices of the members are heard and respected. As we face new challenges and opportunities, Gary remains committed to fostering an environment where every lawyer has access to the resources and support they need to succeed. I ask for your support for Gary Spencer. Now, I know we got a lot of great candidates, but we need Gary Spencer. And as you look to vote for your top 3, I want to make sure that one of your votes is for Gary Spencer. Thank you very much.
When we have a second? Ah, there you are. People have started to go to the restroom. It's confusing. Susan Cobbins, thank you.
Hi, you've just heard from Attorney Bay, all the reasons that Gary is qualified for this role, so you don't need to hear from me. But if the qualifications don't sway you, let me tell you what should. I was a quite zealous, newly minted prosecutor, and Gary was one of the first criminal defense lawyers whose client I was prosecuting. And I'm standing here today to second Gary Spencer. So if a former across the V, United States versus, I won't say his name, Gary, can stand up here and support Gary Spencer, so can you. I will tell this story on myself because it shows what a magnanimous and gracious person Gary is. As all of us do when getting ready for trial, I lost an entire weekend at least to getting ready to prosecute this individual. I show up in court Monday morning, ready to go, and there is no, as Gary would say, client, as a prosecutor would say, defendant. There is no defendant to prosecute. And in my frustration, I went up to Gary and said, "You could have told me your client fled." And Gary said, "Well, he could have shown up." Rightly, Gary, he could have shown up. And that is that little man representation that Gary has done throughout his career. And I encourage you to support Gary for his generosity in the profession, not only to new lawyers as they're coming along. He wasn't mentoring me, but he was teaching me. Not only to new lawyers coming along, but also to those of us who practice in the state, his service to the bar, his service on these committees. It really shows where his heart is, and we need that heart on the executive committee. So thank you, Gary.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, yeah. I'm making little mental notes of who's got time left, you know? Okay, we have Gary Spencer. Do we have anybody else? Mr. Sutton, past president Sutton.
Before I begin my remarks, I'd like to let you know that this clock is a prime example that fascism is alive. Would also like it to be known that though I was not recognized as a past president in attendance, I is here. Madam President, officers, distinguished board members, the bartender at last night's Mercer reception had a big heart and a heavy hand and is responsible for my headache. I rise this morning to nominate my good friend, Martin Valbuena, for another term on the State Bar of Georgia's Executive Committee. Martin, please stand. Let your adoring fans recognize you. You should vote for Martin because Martin has a professional experience unique among today's candidates. He's practiced in a large downtown Atlanta law firm. He's practiced in a small town. He has owned his own law firm. He's been a defense lawyer, a family lawyer, a personal injury lawyer, and a judge. This unique breadth of experience is important because it means Martin understands the challenges facing nearly every category of member of this board. This unique breadth of experience is important because it informs Martin's decision-making. Electing Martin to another term as a member of the EC means ensuring that decisions will be made not from the silo of his own self-interest, but with consideration of that decision's impact upon the profession as a whole. You should vote for Martin Valbuena because Martin understands the unique challenges that come with change. Undoubtedly, our bar and our profession are in a period of transition and have been across the past few years. This is not an experience peculiar to Martin, leaving him uniquely qualified to lead our profession through that change. Consider this for an example. When Martin first joined this board 20 years ago, he was representing the interests of lawyers in a small town. Across that 20 years, that small town has become part of the big city. And just as that town has changed, so have the needs of its lawyers, the lawyers Martin represents. So Martin has adapted, understanding that change brings new opportunities and new possibilities. You should vote for Martin Valbuena because Martin's decisions as a member of the executive committee are guided by responsibility. As a member of the executive committee, Martin has been a voice for keeping dues low, minimizing regulation, and eliminating wasteful spending. Martin Valbuena represents a unique breadth of experience, a unique breadth of perspective, a unique dedication to responsibility. It is these qualities, these unique qualities, that deserve your vote, providing Martin as another term as a member of our executive committee. I yield the balance of my time.
Y'all, past President Sutton's also here as a special guest. Oh, wow, 5 stars to Dax. Frequent flyer?
Mr. President, thank you. I have no rap today, but in keeping with the theme of sketch comedy shows, if you watch SNL, hopefully you will figure out what sketch I'm going to do today. And also in honor of Martin being one of the few Latino members of this board, I'm going to do my second in Spanish. Just know that there will be a translation at the end. Jennifer, please make sure that it goes up on the board. So you should pick up, even though it's in Spanish, hopefully you'll figure out what I'm saying. Es mi gran honor estar aquí para firmar la nominación para el Comité Ejecutivo del Georgia State Bar de Martín Balbuena. Ustedes lo conocen como el tipo que siempre se está quejando del unallocated cash. ¿Okay? Otros lo conocen como el Chief Magistrate de Paulding, pero para mí es uno de los pocos Latin Kings que sirven este comité y esta junta. Como todos, él tiene sus faltas, pero para mí no me importa si él tiene un flat butt, pero por lo menos él no es un nepo baby. ¿Okay? Y también no me importa si se pasa todas estas reuniones dibujando rainbows and unicorns en su tableta. ¿Okay? Pero el hecho más importante que deben considerar es que Martín outpunted his coverage by a lot cuando se casó con Jennifer. ¿Okay? Al fin del día, Martín va a hacer un buen trabajo. Balbuena significa bueno, voten por él. I think that translation. There you go. Thank you.
Do we have any more nominations? Yes, past President Salmon, who was recognized previously.
For the benefit of the new members, I was president of State Bar 31 years ago and president of Younger Lawyers back in 1988. I'm here to nominate today Bert Hummel. I've gotten to know Bert through the Younger Lawyers Bar, through his work on this board, and through the Bar Leadership Academy in particular. Bert's a plaintiff's lawyer in Western Cobb County, but he's practiced business defense work in both Marietta with a regional firm and in Atlanta with a national firm. He served as president of the Cobb Younger Lawyers Bar, and he also won the Ross Adams for the top younger lawyer in Cobb County. He's also served as president of the Younger Lawyers Bar of the State Bar of Georgia. The year he was president, the Legal Food Frenzy raised, I think, the most amount of money that they had raised up until that time. And he had the outstanding program as recognized by the ABA of a Younger Lawyers Bar in the nation. During his years, he's also been recognized for his leadership by legal publications, but I'm really not here to talk about those things today. What I'm here to talk about is why you should elect Bert as your representative to the executive committee. I want to talk a bit about his personal qualities. He's a man of integrity. I observed him as he's treated everyone with kindness, respect, and dignity. Bert listens well and he's accessible. I've never seen his demeanor when it was anything other than jovial, cheerful, and convivial. In addition to these personal qualities, it takes more to be a good member of the executive committee. When I was president of the bar, we celebrated our 25,000th member. You now have over 54,000 members. Being president of the bar has gotten to be a much bigger job. Being an officer of the bar has gotten to be a much bigger job, and being on the executive committee has gotten to be a much bigger job. Bert's experience on the committees of the bar, I think, is what's important. First, he served on the financial committee for 5 years, which prepares your budget for your approval. And he's also monitors the spending of the bar. Second, you want somebody that's familiar with the disciplinary system. Bert has served as vice chair of the review panel of the disciplinary committee. You want somebody that's familiar with the bar center. We're very fortunate in Georgia to have a great bar center. Bert served on the bar center committee. You want somebody that understands in a unified bar, we're both judges and lawyers, and we work best when judges and lawyers communicate well. Bert served as vice chair of the bench bar committee in Georgia. Advisory Committee on Legislation. Bert served for 5 years on the Advisory Committee on Legislation and has been a very active member there. Most recent annual report says the bar now has 105 full-time employees and 8 part-time employees. For 3 years, Bert served on the Personnel Committee, which does the hiring, sets salaries, and deals with personnel issues. Continuing legal education. Bert served for 3 years on the continuing CCLC, which is the group that sets the regulations for continuing education. The last thing I want to mention is the bar has really changed since I was where you were. We have 6 public programs. We have 15 members programs. We have 45 standing committees and 51 substantive law sections. Bert served on the Unified Bar Committee, which has studied all those sections. So he's familiar with the sections, the committees, and all the groups. That's who I would want to serve on the executive committee if I was president of the bar. For these because of all these personal qualities and all these personal experiences, I stand here today to say I am unqualified recommend Bert Hummel for your seat on your executive committee. When I talked to Bert and asked him what he wanted me to say, the first thing he said was, I want to tell you about my wife and children. That says a lot about who Bert is. I recommend that you elect Bert Hummel as your representative to the executive committee. Thank you for your time and say.
Thank you, Past President Simmons. Katie Powers.
I appreciate the time suggestion. I'll be ignoring that, much like Bert's preparation for this speech, because as of 8:56 this morning, I have received 14 texts, 2 emails, and 1 attachment asking if I indeed had everything I needed. And so Bert's preparation and what he will bring to the executive committee is really unparalleled, but to reward that, I promptly ignored every single bit of it. Because you see, Bert, it's important for stories to know how someone got here. And my fellow Mercer Law grad had other dreams. No, it wasn't to be an extra in Game of Thrones, despite the height and the hair coloring. Instead, he had a dream that he's still holding on to today with that purple coat, to be a professional wrestler. Literally until he was in college. Can I have the first slide? Thank you. And this is demonstrable about how he's going to wrestle with the legal problems facing our bar. Because you see, Bert's passion for wrestling is only rivaled by his passion for America. Next slide, please. Bert's passion for America, though, is not just demonstrated in this picture. You see, when he's wrestled with problems, he's also wrestled with the legal problems he's created for the state bar. For any of you who have been a member of the YLD and have known about Bert Hummel's Profile and Courage Award, you will remember that it was short-lived, 2 years. Next slide, please. Because we received a cease and desist letter from again, the John Fitzgerald Kennedy Foundation. It may or may not have led to Paula's early retirement. Good luck, Russ. But in all seriousness, the future of our bar is dependent on the new lawyers that we put in. And I have seen firsthand the work that Bert has done, not only with our advocates, but he's run the National Moot Court region for 6 years. He's always ready to mentor a new lawyer through his Wild D leadership. He has come back to Mercer every time we've asked as an adjunct, as a coach, as a mentor. And what he has put into the future of this bar is what he will put into the current status of this bar. So it is my honor to second my friend's nomination.
Thank you, Katie. We may should have taken that one in executive session, but we'll move on. Do I have any other nominations from the floor? Yes, ma'am.
Hello again.
Now, this is how you game the clock.
I will not be using my entire 5 minutes. I rise to renew my nomination for John R.B. Jack Long to serve on the executive committee. As I previously stated, his dedication, his proven record of service to this organization, his prior service on the executive committee through his service as the prior Wild D president, and his current active service is his record and will show that he will continue to be a great asset to all of us in representing the needs of our members and the community and serving us on this executive committee. And again, don't forget Baby Jack. Vote for him. Thank you.
Something tells me we have a second. Come on, John. Thank you, Judge.
I second the nomination of Jack Long for the Executive Council.
Well played. Best nomination of the whole day. Best second. Okay. Do we have any other candidates? Any other nominations? Have a motion to close the nominations? Second? Okay, with that, we will end the foray of the clock. All right, we're going to now call the vote. I'm getting there, I'm getting there. You make a good backseat driver too. All right, we're going to call the vote. I want to remind you that you have to vote for 3. If you vote for 1 or 2, your vote will not be counted. You vote for 3. The top 3 vote getters will be elected to serve in the 3 open seats. You can try. Your vote will also not be counted. All right, with that, let's open the poll. All right, okay. Yeah, this election system, as we were talking about bylaws earlier, requires multiple polls be created because we have to figure out any and all circumstances and who can do what or where. So again, thank you, Jennifer. All right. We have the poll. The poll is open. So please select 3 candidates to serve as executive committee members for a 2-year term. You must select 3 and only 3, or your vote will not be counted. How many you got? All right, we're going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Please close the poll.
It's not registered.
There you have it. So the new members of the executive committee are, did you have any technical problems on your end? Okay. The new members of the, confirming we had no technical problems on the runner of the voting machine. The new members are Bert Hummel, Gary Spencer, and Martin Valbuena. If we could give everybody, congratulations. I want to thank everybody who ran Service on the executive committee is important, and it's great to see all of the interest. So I want to thank all of the candidates for making themselves available. I also want to thank Bill Neesmith. I showed up with this clock yesterday afternoon, and he did an excellent job of running it. So thank you, Bill. You've returned at least 12 minutes to everybody to go to the pool. All right. Again, congratulations to our new members of the executive committee. I look forward to working with each of you. We will now seek approval of the appointments to the Board of Georgia Legal Services Program. That is Seth Bruckner of Atlanta, Keyshawn Davis of Tucker, Laverne Lewis Gaskins of Augusta, Matthew Howell of Atlanta, Professor Ishak Kundawala of Macon, and Allison White of Atlanta. Do I have a motion to approve these appointments? Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, would you please post the poll? And the poll question is, do you approve? Wait. Here we go. Do you approve the Georgia Legal Services Program appointments as presented? All right, we can close the poll. Okay, and that passes. We next have the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism appointment, and I present to you Reza O'Connor of Vidalia for this appointment. Do I have a motion to appoint Reza? Do I have a second? All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will post the poll question. Again, the poll question is, do you approve the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism appointment as presented? And that is Reza O'Connor. Okay, we'll go ahead and close that poll. And that is overwhelmingly approved. Our bylaws require us to re-elect our executive director each and every year. It has been my distinct pleasure to integrate myself into bar leadership and to work with Damon. I was on the search committee who worked during COVID with Dawn, thank you, Dawn, to try and find our next executive director. Damon came to us as a seasoned attorney with great experience who previously served on the Board of Governors, the Executive Committee, and YLD president back when he had more hair. And I weighed about 30 pounds less. It has been fun to grow into our respective roles together, Damon, over the past 4 years. As I rise to nominate Damon, I want to reiterate what I said earlier about bar staff. He is doing an excellent job with supporting a staff over 100 people, as past President Simmons said earlier. You can tell that he is passionate about the work of the bar. You can tell he cares about the staff of the bar. The Personnel Committee has reviewed Damon each year, and I can tell you as a member of that committee for the past 2-3 years that Damon's performance has only improved, and I expect him to well continue on that trajectory. Damon is the person we need in this role. It is my honor to nominate Damon to serve as the Executive Director of the State Bar of Georgia for the 2024-2025 year. Do we have a second? We even have a poll question for this. The poll question is, do you approve retaining Damon Elmore as Executive Director as presented? And I can urge you to vote in this election, and I urge you to vote yes. All right, the poll is now open. And it hurts Damon's feelings when you test the clicker on this one, so be kind. Okay, well, we got it. Let's close the poll. There's always somebody out there, David. Thank you. And now that he has been properly reelected to serve, he will deliver his report. Good morning, Mr. Chief Justice, Mr. Presiding Justice, members of the court, members of the Board of Governors, past presidents of the Young Lawyers Division. I appreciate this opportunity to come before you with remarks and an update on our bar operations. I don't know that I'll have a ton to add considering the initiatives that have gone before me in the agenda and the updates and the details that have been provided there. I also thought it would be a long meeting and I would need to condense it considering discussion on some initiatives, but that's cool. I do have a point of personal privilege. I do want to thank you for the vote of confidence and extension of my term as executive director. I appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with an amazing team as we support the mission of the bar and provide value for our members. Those comments were, Ivy, kind and generous, but you've heard me say before that it's not a solo effort, and I am, and you all should be most appreciative of the entire team at 104 Marietta Street, at 2nd Street, or on Hodgson Memorial Drive. And that's Ron and his teams in finance, IT, and membership. That's Sarah and her teams in CLE, communications, sections, YLD, high school mock trial, the law practice management program, and our office management and bar center teams, as well as those satellite offices. It's UPL, it's ICLE, it's fee arbitration, it's the Pro Bono Project, it's HR, and it's Megan. It's Gaiki and her meetings team. And yeah. And of course, it's Paula and her teams in the Office of the General Counsel and in receivership and those client assistance programs. Those are the people that are owed any recognition or gratitude and thanks to. As we end this bar year, we are confident and optimistic in our position and the way we will support our members in the new bar year. Each year, I am reminded, and I remind you of the words of Saint Benedict as he propagates the belief that always we begin again. So as we wrap the work of this bar year, details and data related to the ways that we support our members will be available in our detailed annual report that'll be ready in October. But right now, we are ready to shift into the next year. We're ready to support the members and our volunteer leaders for 2024 and 2025. Each day we work to keep service and member service and value and other parts of our purpose top of mind. And the most important thing is the way we manage all of those fiscal resources. I do want to highlight that we will say goodbye to some faces before our next meeting. That includes Lamont Burwell, who has served as our Director of Information Technology, Faye First, who was our Conference Center Manager, and Kim Ben, who recently left from our ICLE department. We really wish them all well, and if you see them, please tell them thank you. But we are confident that people like John Weich in IT and Kyle with our Conference Center will be able to step into those gaps and continue the rich tradition of member service, and that is most important in all that we do. You also heard about Russ Willard, who has been identified as our General Counsel Designate to assume the role of General Counsel in January 2025. He comes to us from the Department of Law, the Attorney General's office, where he spent more than 22 years supporting that work and was actually very busy this week doing so. We look forward to the contributions he'll make in that office, and we're really grateful for the support of our Personnel Committee and the Supreme Court liaisons and court in that search process. For the next bar year, we will support Ivy and the Executive Committee in their work. We will continue to work on plans to attract new tenants and optimize the use of 104 Marietta Street, and that has been heavy and robust, including moving closer to having our 5th floor converted, closer than I believe we've ever been in the time that we've been in that building. And I want to thank Ron particularly for the work and the help that he's done in that area. We'll focus on value. We'll focus on value and operational improvements in select departments. And that's what our work has been, and that's what it will be. The office has no program, plan, or agenda.
The aim is to simply make sure that our processes and people are best suited to do the work that will deliver results. We are really grateful to Tony and the entire executive committee for their leadership over the past year. All of them are the definition of service to the public and the profession, and I am grateful for their support and their friendship, really. We are equally grateful to our partnership with our Supreme Court liaisons, Senior Liaison Warren and Justice Bethel. That is particularly important with the work that we do that is designed to protect the public. So that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions now, or as they say colloquially, if you see me in the streets, you can ask me questions then too. So any questions? Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon, for that report, and thank you for the excellent work that you do for our bar. I will now call on President Kenneth Mitchell Jr. to deliver the report from the Young Lawyers Division.
Hello, to our justices, judges, elected officials, lawyers, staff, family, and friends. On behalf of the Young Lawyers Division, I bring greetings. It is an honor and privilege to serve as your Young Lawyers Division president. We do have a very great plan, great schedule and plan to continue as the service arm of the YLD. So I'll just ask you to encourage any young lawyers you know, mentees, that we are seeking them to come and lend their talents, their time and treasure. We'll continue as Brittany did before me to have our meetings alongside the bar. And so you'll see a lot of your young lawyers coming out. So as we say in church sometimes, the doors of the YLD are open.
Thank you, Kenny. I look forward to working with you this year. I know we've talked and planned and done stuff together. Enjoy it. I think you're great and ready to lead the Young Lawyers Division. We now have Carlise Greer, the Director of the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. And there you are. Thank you, Carlise.
Kyle is going to help me out. Thank you, Kyle, as always, and Jennifer for your help. I will run through this quickly and be brief. First of all, I want to start by thanking our commission members and in particular our chair, Chief Justice Michael Boggs. Next slide. For their leadership on the commission, and let you know about some of the things that are coming up between now and November 1st when we gather together again as a board. So right now, the commission's grant application period is open through July 15th. The commission does give grants to promote programs and projects regarding legal professionalism. Next slide. On May 16th, the commission did a training on our grants program, and I want to thank the folks who were very instrumental in that training. Our chair of the Grants Commission, chair of the Grants Committee, Nika Hackworth Jones, Judge Elizabeth Gobeil. The training was her suggestion, and we really appreciate her bringing that to us. Jennifer Ward, and one of our recent grant recipients, Lee Robbins, helped with that training. Next slide. The training is on our website, a video. So if you are interested in applying for a grant, we encourage you to review that training. Judge Gobeil talked a little bit about the history. Nika talked a little bit about the grant criteria. Jennifer, next slide, went through some of the grant application with you. And Nika talked about if you are awarded a grant, what the expectations are. Next slide. And so all of that information is on our website. And of course, if you have additional questions after reviewing the information on our website, please contact me. The commission creates no vested rights in grants, but we encourage you to apply in case we're able to grant those applications this year. You are eligible if you are a charity or nonprofit, if you are a law school or law-related educational program, a court or a local or voluntary bar association. Sections of the bar and executive branch or legislative branch agencies are not eligible. So make sure you're attached to a court if you're part of state government. Next slide. We are also in the middle of recruiting group leaders for our law school orientations on professionalism. Many of you have participated in the program over the years. It's in its 32nd year. We're in all 5 of Georgia's law schools, and it's a great opportunity to come and connect with fellow alumni, incoming 1L students, and talk to 1L students about the importance of professionalism. And so we encourage you to sign up, apply to be a group leader, and we welcome you to the campuses of the school in August. Our next CLE program will be on July 18th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., Maintaining Judicial Professionalism, Reflections from the Bar. We will open registration at the end of June. Next slide for me. And I want to thank the many folks who are helping with this program. We have so many people involved in our professionalism movement. And I try and acknowledge and thank them all as I can. So for this CLE, the panelists will be Chuck Boring, former JQC director, Eddie Chase, an assistant district attorney in DeKalb County, Molly Bear Gillis, who is one of our commission members in private practice, concentrating in personal injury. Tony Del Campo at our last May meeting said, we need a civil attorney on the panel. And so Molly agreed to join us. Another commission member, Francis Johnson, will also be on the panel. And Randy McGinley, who is a district attorney for the Alcovey Circuit, I'm sorry, for the Western Walton County District Attorney's Office, is also on our panel. It will be moderated by one of our State Bar Committee on Professionalism members, Rhonda Kruziker. Next slide. Also coming up before our November board meeting, we'll be doing a CLE on September 6th. It will be hybrid in person at the State Bar of Georgia, professionalism in cases involving individuals with diminished capacity. This idea for the CLE came forth from one of our commission members, Lauren Shubo, a public defender in the Fulton County Public Defender's Office. There will probably be a cost, very low cost, similar to our signature professionalism CLE a couple of years ago to this in hybrid and in person. On October 5th, the State Bar Committee on Professionalism, chaired by Michael Herskowitz, with our Speaker and Writers Bureau, one of our co-chairs, Kevin Patrick, is here. For that, Michael Perez is our other co-chair of our Speakers and Writers Subcommittee for the Committee on Professionalism. October 25th, Ethics and Professionalism During Career Transitions. We had 1,500 people to participate in that, got lots of questions, had a few technical difficulties. So we're going to do a part 2 with the same panel and participants, October 25th. So look for that. Next slide. On April 17th, the commission hosted the Justice Robert Benham Awards for Community Service, the 24th annual award ceremony. You see the picture here of our awards recipients with Chief Justice Boggs, Justice and Mrs. Benham. Our award recipients, Vicki Cambril, Georgia Legal Services, Senior Judge Kathy Palmer, Judge Shavita McCamey, who we saw yesterday. Next to me is Jeff Smith, our Lifetime Award recipients, and Sam Olens. Congratulations to them all. Next slide. We could not have hosted the award ceremony at the Nathan Geo Judicial Center without the help and support of our sponsors. We have 46 of them. I want to thank each and every one of them. We use no professionalism fee for the Benham Awards, and so we could not do it without them, literally. Next slide. And just a thank you and heads up to our sponsors. You have their names in your board book. Next slide. I want to thank everybody who was involved in pulling the Benham Awards together. Our selection committee chair, Judge Joy Lampley Fortson, an immigration judge, our planning committee co-chairs, Christopher Chan and Latoya Williams, and our Georgia Legal History Foundation liaison. There was our fundraising partner, Greg Smith. Next slide. Nominations for the Benham Awards will most likely open the 25th. This is a milestone year, our 25th. Most likely open after Labor Day on September 16th and end on November 11th, the week after our board meeting in November. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. QR code in the board book will lead you to the nominations page. Right now, it's bare bones. We will have more information about nominations as we get closer to September, but it is not too early to start thinking about who in your community you look up to that performs community service that you would like to nominate. Next slide. We have a few more things that are percolating. So follow us on social media, look for what we're doing on our events page. Next slide. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank our retiring commission members, Brittany Browning, J. Antonio Del Campo, Christopher Chan, and Judge Shondina Cruz Morris. Thank you all. Oh, yeah. Jack, I'm sorry. I keep talking Jack. I apologize. Thank you all so much.
Well played, Carly. Thank you. And I want to thank Carlise for the work she's doing on the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. As we transition to our new rules that we just passed on CLE, you will need more ethics and professionalism hours. And I would urge you that they do exceptional programming. It's often at low to no cost. And so when you need more hours, they are a great place to turn and a resource for you. Finally, we have the report on the Advisory Committee on Legislation, which is going to be delivered by Rusty Sewell, who is there in the lights. While Rusty's coming up here, I want to thank Brandon Peak. Brandon, where you at? I thought you were here. All right, stand up. Everybody, Brandon has done a great job. This committee can be a heavy lift, and with judicial pay and consideration, it was in fact that this year. Brandon did an exceptional job leading the committee. I know that Tony and I are very grateful for your hard work, and I just wanted to thank you and recognize you. Next year, the chair will be Caesar Mitchell. Is Caesar here? All right, Caesar, stand up. You're going to stand up and wave too. Caesar really needs no introduction. Caesar's a man of action, and you know him as a member of the public policy team at that small little local law firm known as Denton's. Caesar's the past president of Atlanta City Council, and I am super grateful and want to express my gratitude to you, Caesar, for taking this leadership role on and helping with the important work of the bar. And all the judges will be relieved to know that judicial pay increases will again be part of the bar's legislative program. So with that, Rusty, I cede the floor to you.
Thank you. And I was going to say the same thing about Brandon. He did an excellent job. He did good. But you're sitting here and these lights are looking at you. You feel like you're in an interrogation room. You know, just gotten your DUI maybe, right? And they're looking to see what they have to say. I also want to thank Mark Middleton, who's, with us this weekend, and Roy Robinson, who couldn't be down here. They're my partners in crime. We did have a good year, and I talked about it at Brasstown, the legislation, and I'm glad that everything worked out good. We had our second 100-page bill, and next year I know we'll have one more 100-page bill with the fiduciary bill. So we're on a roll for 3 straight years, I think. But what I do want to quickly say today, we've got the potential right now, 31 lawyers in the legislature. They're in the election time. We've got, I think, 3 senators that have opposition, but I think looking at the circuits, they should be fine. In the House, there are 10 with opposition. Of those, 2 of those are fairly close, I think, that need help and all. And what I'm going to say today, I thought Brian Strickland did an excellent job yesterday, if you were here, of talking about, I've been doing this for 30-something years, I guess, and Tom Bowler before me, and we'd always get up here, run for office. You know, y'all run for the General Assembly, need to run for the General Assembly. But realistically, that's a really hard job to do and also practice law. I mean, unless you've got very good partners or you live right around Atlanta, like Brian said, it's hard to do. And the thing he talked about yesterday is coming down to the session. He said, let them know, let Stan Gunner know, you know, happy to have y'all down there, go to committee meetings. And really Mark, Roy, and myself are happy to facilitate that. And that's real good. Some understanding of the General Assembly. The other thing is, it would be very, very good if every one of y'all could tell me that you know your senator and representatives and are very good friends with, you know, or at least know them to know that if they have a problem during the session or if they have legislation coming up, that they can call on you. They know there's a lawyer they know that can call and get them into the bar in the section maybe that needs to help them with legislation. That would be really good. His example of the state court judge yesterday that helped a non-lawyer was great. And really that's what I'm asking for today is get to know your representatives and so that they know to call on you and that you can help them. That's it. And I know I'm the last and everybody can go to the pool.
Let's go. Thank you, Rusty. Rusty, Mark, and Roy should be commended on their excellent work on behalf of the bar at the Capitol. We're grateful for you and the work that you guys all do. Mark is here as well, and Roy couldn't be here, so thank you, and thank you for being here. We now have I know that each of you will diligently read all of these reports that we have that are written reports as you go to the pool or the beach. I doubt you will do that today, but I do want you to take a look at them when you get back home and your board book's sitting there. There's a lot of really good work going on at the bar, and there are a lot of really good people who put these reports together so you could read them and know about them and possibly get more involved. Robert's Rules of Order require me to ask, is there any old business? Oh, Dawn, come on. Honorary, yeah. There will be an option to observe the meetings virtually. So they will be broadcast next year. So the question, since Dawn did not have a microphone, is that if you cannot appear in person at the meetings that will be in person, can you somehow otherwise interact with the meeting? And they will not be on Zoom, so we won't have the question and answer and some of the things that the features of Zoom, but they will be broadcast, just live streamed, so that if you are unavailable to attend, you can watch and you can see what's going on. The difference is under Robert's Rules of Order, you just won't be counted present like you are on Zoom. Yes. Yes. So the question was, if you want to vote at the Friday meeting at Sawgrass, will you have to be in person as a member of the bar? And the answer is yes. Huh? Yeah. 2 members of the bar? Okay. Vote. Yeah. All right. So, but we encourage all members of I tell people, look, if you want to go to a nice place at a good rate and have a good time, just register for the free stuff and come to the meeting. And so I encourage people to come. If you can fit it into your life, I get it. Okay. Any other old business? Any new business? Does anybody see any need to go into executive session? Very good. So I'm going to make this announcement while I still have your attention. Headshots of the new members of the Board of Governors are going to be made immediately after this meeting. Please gather in the lobby right out here. If you are a Board of Governors member this new, you need a headshot. If you are a returning Board of Governors member and you want an updated photo, you need to come for the pictures. If you're an officer or a member of the executive committee, you need to come to the pictures. So with that, I want to invite everyone to our reception and Ms. Hicks? Come on. Sorry, I didn't see you. Oh, the
The
roll.
location of the rosters, can you hold them up, please?
If you are one of the lucky people who holds a roster, if you would do us the courtesy after we adjourn of returning it to the front of the meeting, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. And every
All right.
Board of Governors member present did actually sign it.
Yep.
If you did not, come up to the front. I know our people up front did not have one because I gave theirs away. So, lesson learned. And also, please leave your clickers on the table and they will be picked up by our bar staff. Do not take them with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Javon. I did get a text last night by somebody who accidentally took the roll with them, so thank you. We should have a great time tonight. We have Yacht Rock Review. We have a great reception. It'll be here in this conference center. I am very excited. We will dance and party and have a great time and have some remarks. We will thank past President Del Campo again for his service, which is well deserved. And with that, yep. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you for being here.